start rolling on that one, Gary. I'll just do a quick clap and a white balance.
Yes, I've always wanted to be on.
Okay?
Yeah.
Recording. Just, you can see that?
Yeah.
You're a star.
See that. Good. And just give us a quick clap.
Me?
Up to you. Just go like that. That's it.
Shout
Action!
action. Okay, so when were you first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed when I was 8, about 3 months after my little sisters were born, and my mum basically noticed that I was losing a lot of weight and going to the toilet a lot in the night time and things. So she said, if you get below 3 stone, which is really small for a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, sorry, then we'll take you to the doctors. Took me to the doctors, and you've got type 1. So yeah.
And how was that? What was your reaction to that?
Well, it was like 18 years ago now, so but I remember like not finding it fair that I had to do that, whereas my sisters didn't have to, think about things like that. But my nurse in the hospital actually had type 1, so I found that kind of easier because she could show me that being an adult was, you could do it basically, so it kind of made it all right.
How has diabetes affected how you shop, cook and eat generally?
In terms of shopping, my diabetes has affected it because I don't really buy processed things and like ready meals, because I find that they have like added sugars and things in them. Although yes, you can find out how much carbohydrate and things are on the back, how they affect your blood sugar seems to be different to if you say made a shepherd's pie at home. So I tend to buy much more fresh things and home make things a lot more, which is quite good for your balance as well of the old bank. So
how has it affected growing up at family meal time, or if you were to eat out at friends?
Yeah. At home eating, my diabetes, eating at home with my family isn't a problem, because what we usually do is weigh the food out and things. So I know that, say you weigh 75 grams of pasta or whatever per person, then that's approximately what you're getting, even if you are guessing it kind of. But eating out, it is kind of a bit of guesswork, but because I've had it since I was so little, you kind of get a good eye for, okay, well that's a large portion, and that usually is between this and that, and you kind of just get to know your body a bit more. So unfortunately it's a bit of guesswork, but careful and educated guesswork.
Do you have any favourite healthy food swaps?
In terms of swaps, obviously chocolate bars and things hit your blood sugar, up, you peak even if you inject according to the amount of carbohydrate in your food. You're still going to peak before you then level out again. So cereal bars tend to be a better choice in that respect. But I'm really into nectarines at the moment, and the market stall round the corner from where I work is selling them all the time, so I'm all over that at the moment. But yeah, in terms of swaps, I'd say cereal bars and stuff. You can still get a bit of chocolate on them if you want, but in terms of how they're more slow release, so your blood sugars tend to level out more than peaking and therefore making you feel really nasty. So, yeah.
What are your top tips? Do you have any tips for eating?
Yeah, my top tips are to to cook and use more natural products like rice and potatoes instead of maybe potato waffles, chips and pasta and things that are processed. Although people don't think of pasta as processed, but it is, just because, again, like I said about your blood sugar, it is much more slow release, so then you end up staying at a nice happy medium, even if you inject slightly late or whatever, than having a peak of the more processed things. And that'd be my tip of the day.
What's your favourite meal, healthy meal?
Okay.
Snack?
Okay, so unfortunately at the moment my favourite snack is, meal is chicken curry and chips. However, I make that healthy by doing it homemade. You know, using like the fry light spray and the chips, I do them homemade and I don't deep fat fry them or anything. I just do them in the oven. So.
And snacks?
Yeah. Oh, snack-wise. Well, snacking, I quite like seeds and nuts and stuff, which makes me sound a bit like a bird, but no, they are nice. I like them. And other good snacks are probably like fruit and I quite like eating tomatoes like apples, which is a bit weird, but I like them, so yeah.
How does being a celiac affect your diet in
so
relationship to diabetes?
Being a celiac and having diabetes is quite problematic at times. For example, by removing the gluten from some things, they increase the sugar levels in order to make it taste better, because I guess the gluten makes it taste right. I don't know. But anyway, that's what they tend to do to it, which is therefore really hard in terms of controlling your levels. But mainly in terms of eating out is quite difficult because you never really know how, for example, a sauce is made. Like you might at home put corn flour in it or something, but they might put wheat flour in it. They might use a different stock cube. So I guess it's just you have to have a greater knowledge of what could happen. And how things could be made. But actually, by doing that, it kind of gives me a better idea of what's healthier and not really as well. So, unfortunately, it's a bit more expensive being a celiac as well. But, you know, I'd rather eat healthily and follow my gluten-free diet than to ignore it and then do myself more damage in the long term. So.
And last of all, do you have any tips for anyone else with diabetes or being a celiac as well? Or just knowing that it's going to be alright.
It's going to be
alright.
It's going to be okay. I would say in terms of tips for being a celiac is just if you say, no, you want to go out for a family meal, is Google restaurants that do gluten-free diets, because a lot of places these days won't necessarily advertise it on their menus, but online they do say, you know, we can do alternatives, and actually the alternatives are quite a lot better sometimes and cheaper. I would say that'd be the best tip for being a celiac. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Star is born. Alex, is that good for you?
Yeah, all for me and you, yeah.
Very happy.
There's a few points there. We've got the door closing. I don't know if we can really do much about that.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's going to...
Probably just edit around it. Maybe.
Possibly. It tends to happen as the most important point. We stop that, Gary? Yeah. Okay. You rolling, Gary?
Yeah.
Okay, and just a couple of claps.
Action!
Okay, when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed when I was 8 years old.
And when were you diagnosed with being a celiac?
Oh, I was diagnosed with being a celiac when I was 12, so just when I was starting secondary school.
How has diabetes affected how you shop, cook and eat?
So diabetes has affected how I shop, cook and eat by me having to be more aware of what's in food. So I tend to buy less processed foods and, you know, for example, ready meals, and tend to cook, for example, a shepherd's pie at home myself instead of buying it ready-made.
Do you have any favourite healthy swaps or tips for eating well?
I guess a healthy swap would be to have a cereal bar instead of a chocolate bar, because it prevents your blood sugars from peaking and making you feel a bit funky.
What's your favourite healthy meal / snack?
Okay, my favourite healthy meal at the moment is chicken curry and chips. However, although that doesn't sound healthy, it is because I cook everything like from scratch and don't deep fry the chips. I just use fry light and put them in the oven, so that makes them healthy.
How does being a celiac affect your diet along with being a diabetic?
Being a diabetic and a celiac affects my diet quite a lot because it makes you more aware of what's in food. But as a consequence, I tend to stick to the same like basic ingredients for things like chili and spaghetti bolognese, etc. But then just add flavours on top instead of using like pre-made packet mixes and things.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That was so
Yeah, that was good. Okay. Okay,